I've been waiting for this day to put sleds in my new NITRO XPS trailer, and today is finally the day. We have her hooked up to little old Blair here, and Blair is hurting in the rear suspension area. I haven't got airbags or anything. Again, goal is to not tow with that ever, but we're kind of in a pickle right now. So I'm heading up to Bruce's tomorrow. So I threw good old Boost in here because that is still for sale, guys. If you guys are interested, everything is on Southside Sales website. You guys can call, ask for Bruce or Pete. And I have two of my old man's adventures in here. They're 600s. I gotta get recall work done on them. I never even brought them up last year to get them done. So now that I have this nice fancy new trailer, threw them in. But anyway, looks good. This is not sarcasm at all. Really excited to put these in here and see how they fit. It's perfect for me. I don't need really any more room. I know bigger is for the most part always better, but for me, I got tons of room in here. So I think if I finagled them in some way, I think I could get 4 in here. Now, don't hold me to that, but I think I can. Might be trying that at some point. Not right now. But anyway, again, huge shout out to NITRO Trailers for hooking me up with the latest and greatest trailer to haul my sleds in. Up to Bruce as we go. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back. I'm up here at Southside Sales and Service with Bruce behind me, and 'tis the season for snowmobile stuff. I'm gonna be up here for a little while. We're gonna be going over a ton of stuff. What we have behind me is just the first of many videos to come. So pretty much what we do, if you guys are new here, is pretty much overview a lot of sleds. We talk about setup, we talk about issues, we talk about why things are done. And today is one of the things that we haven't touched on, believe it or not, which over the last couple of years, we've touched on just about almost everything that you could possibly think of. But this is not one thing that we've talked about, installing them and why we do them. This might be common sense to some people, but it's not common sense, and that is tunnel protectors. So as we have here on a floor, we have a brand new XCR, which we'll be overviewing at some point while I'm up here. But tonight we're gonna talk about tunnel protectors, why you need them, what they are, and what they protect. So we have the one and only Bruce that you guys all love and care for to explain what these are.
Okay, guys. Yeah, so like Jesse said, with the tunnel protection, it's one thing that you don't want to forget when you stud a sled, because you're dealing with a lot of you're dealing with between 90 and 144 picks commonly that we use on these. There's a lot of whip under the tunnel, so not only on the gas, but when you're on the brake, and the track kind of balloons at the top and it can rub against the tunnel. And the other thing we have now is a lot more tunnel extrusion. You know, in the old days, we used to have extrusions here that
coolant ran through.
Coolant ran through. Now we have it all in the, a lot in the tunnel and at the front of the tunnel. So it's it's important for track tension for the front cooler that's in front of the track, because again, that can get hit by studs, especially if the track is loose. But as far as just the normal, where do I put my studs and why do I need tunnel protection, is you have these wide extrusions right here. These are all where the coolant runs, and it connects here, goes around and goes the other way and heads back, and this makes a constant rotation coming out of the engine and going back here, and then the thermostat stops just like a car when it goes through a radiator. So and then we're spinning a bunch of metal with sharp edges right next to them. So
asking for disaster.
Asking for trouble, yeah. So commonly in the old days, we studded on the outside of the belts and on the inside of the belts. That has changed over the years. It's been a lot of years since I put studs in the outside belt. Cross-country guys will, because they need the extra thing if they're on the ice, or ice racers, obviously. But with that being said, we stud a lot right in here. So in this area here, there is no coolant running through here. So if it does scratch the tunnel, okay, it's not a big deal. But if you do put stuff in the outside belts, it is a big deal, because you have any issue, you need to have, this is what's helped keeping the track and the whip factor of the track and the studs rubbing against where the coolant is. So again, when I'm studding stuff for people, I'm always doing it in the center unless somebody tells me that I want it on the outside belts because I want more traction. But usually we're dealing with a few different patterns of double plates, single plates, that, you know, all Woody stuff that we use. But the first and foremost is the tunnel protection, and these are the kits that you get from Polaris. It's 2 pieces of extrusion, and they have like a T-nut design that you just put it in right here like this, and then you have to run them up where they are, and you can see the one that's on here. There's one bolt here, 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 and then in the tail. So you kind of, we have the suspension out of this one, obviously, so it's much easier to show you how to do this. When you're putting tunnel protectors in and you don't want to pull the rear suspension out, it is definitely easier even if you just pull these 2 bolts out and then swing the tail. And
the suspension will stay in the front 2 bolts. It'll just swing out completely,
exactly,
just right in the track. So you could pretty much, I mean, maybe not quite this far, but it's still decently far out that you could get to most of them pretty easily.
Because the kit, when you get this kit, it tells you to take your flap off, and it actually gives you rivets to put back on. And it kind of eliminates that fact. You don't have to pull your flap off because you're going to be able to just, you know, your flap's out here like this. You're going to be able to get it in there and not have to remove it and then repop rivet and those kind of things. And it, like I said, it just makes it easier because when you do slide it in, you want to be able to use a gun and tighten the nuts up. So it just makes it easier. So when you put those in, you slide them up, you kind of line it up with the bolt hole. Once you catch the first one, you kind of line it up here, and then catch the second one, and then the third one, and then the fourth one is behind. Okay, so now they're there. Now, that's all you have to have is a deep 10 mil socket, quarter drive preferably, because you got to be able to fit it in there. Because you need to be kind of quick so that you don't lose the nut inside there, because then you kind of got to start all over and knock the nut out of there as you drop.
So again, guys, it's just protecting your coolant, so from the studs is pretty much what it's doing. Now, people are probably going to say, well, are they really that needed? And yeah, believe it or not, if you look at a sled that has some miles on it, that's ridden hard, if you look at one of mine, maybe, you'll see some of the, the track marks actually on your tunnel protectors. And you'll have little.
Yeah, the track will be rubbing. You'll see all the black on this because these are in the line of the Hyfax. So where this is, that's where it's going to bump up against this and leave a big black mark on it, and not allow these studs to get to the tunnel.
Right.
So once you just catch the nuts on there, that's all you do is just tighten them up. So now, you would do that with both of those, and then that job is done. So in the same sense here, we can kind of talk about
studs
the studding, because we just studded this one for a customer. And this is just a normal 2x2 pattern that Woody's has. And this is a 1.352 track, and these are 1.450 studs. What you want when you're doing this is you're kind of looking for 3/8 of an inch out. So the distance between the highest point of the track and the tip of the stud is you're looking for 3/8. On this track, you can use 1.325. It's just you're not
going to have as much penetration.
You're a little light on the 3/8. And this one, you might be a whisker heavy on the 3/8 out, but you're gonna lose the tip on here. And, things are going to dull up, and then you're kind of going to fall right into that 3/8. Whereas if you start with a 1.325, you're already down. And nowadays, this is all about traction and control. So when you're on the trail, especially these last couple of years, we really had quite a bit of icy conditions. You're really relying on them not only to get you going, but also to stop you. Whether you're coming up on, usually the
Yeah, it's not
corners
just
are,
performance, it's safety
yeah,
also.
the corners are dusted, so that's where it's icy. You cross a road, and usually that's where the snow's blown off, and then on the other side, and you're climbing a hill and it's all ice, or you're coming down one to go to the road. So, to me, that little bit of extra 1/8 inch between those two stud lengths is what I would do. When you're pulling them in, you look on the back side, it's just everything's very, very smooth. And the other thing is I don't put stuff dead center either, because, as you know, we work on a lot of shocks here, and I should have one with me here, but I can show you what a shock looks like when
it wears right through the top of that.
It'll hit here, it'll hit there, it'll hit the top of that one, and then on the bottom of
if you flip it around,
it'll do the same thing. And it really, especially if somebody's going through a lot of travel, the track is very flat going across the top, and that metal will knock the aluminum right off those shocks.
So this is a 135, and we have flipped over here a 1.5 Storm.
Yeah.
What studs do you normally recommend to run in this?
1.575. So this track is an 1.5 inch track. The Storm track is 1.5 inches on the center, 1.25 inches on the outside. Kind of a neat deal. Helps you corner a little bit with a deep track because you don't have so much bite on the outside. But you have a 1.5 track basically, and a 1.575 stud. So it's a little weird, people think, well, why would I use that? Because it's only, it's just a little bit longer than that. But when you look at this track has 2,600 miles on it with these studs. So right now, when you look at that, you're a heavy 1/4 inch right here, and they've been worn. So when these were put in, they're basically that 3/8 out again, right at that tip. So, the size of stud to track is very important. Woody's has a really good website that tells you which thing you want to use.
What they call for.
Yeah, what to call for. But the other thing is this track here, this is Storm track is a very firm track. So there's very little flex on these lugs compared to the Cobra on that. This track here, the lugs, are much more pliable. So on a hard surface, these lugs bend over more, put more stud out. That's another reason why sometimes people want to just put a 1.325 on it, because that's happening. But myself, it's never a problem in the tunnel, and really never a problem with the track, as long as you put in the proper amount of studs in. And it's all about,
run your tunnel protectors.
You run your tunnel protectors, and then it's all about traction.
Yeah. So tunnel protectors, they're pretty simple. It's not rocket science kind of why they're there, but it is a big question that we get pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And no, sleds do not come with them unless you get a 1.25 ripsaw with a pre-studded track.
Yeah, pre-studded
That's the only time you're going to have them in there. So if you are studding a 135, a 1.5,
1.6,
a 1.6,
yeah,
you do not have tunnel protectors. So if you're studding, you're going to have to put them in.
No snowmobile comes with it.
Right.
Except, like you said, if it already has a pre-stud track on it.
So that is kind of the gist of tunnel protectors, why we need them, what they are, and how to install them. And this is just one of many videos that we're going to be doing up here, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them down in the comments, and I will get back to you. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.